So, episode 26 of the Audible, and I've got my friend Joe. Joe, well, I've already ruined the spoiler of your name. Do you want to introduce yourself, mate?
Well, the surprise there, mate. And I'm Joe. I play for Lancashire Buccaneers and I coach over at Bangor.
Brill. And who's your team? Because obviously we're an NFL show. Who is your team?
Well, Carolina Panthers, unfortunately. Team picked at random when I was like 13 on holiday in Florida. It was
Is that,
like,
is
go
that
and pick a jersey.
is that how you picked it? You literally did it like that?
Literally was, yeah. I went into a shop and it was like, choose a jersey that you want. Went with them. Got back into the NFL when I was like 17, 18. And I was like, well, what's the worst thing that can happen? I'll just stick with these. And then it's been a long, grueling road for like 17 years since that.
That's brilliant. That's brilliant.
Gosh.
So, have you ever like been any of the games, or is it on the bucket to do list? I know you're a busy guy.
Yeah, it's on the to do, man. But like getting out to the States is hard work. But I think I've just kept missing them I've kept missing them for the London games as well. I've seen supposedly they're meant to be playing in Madrid this year. I don't know if it's been confirmed or anything.
Well, talking on that, they've just confirmed that the Jacksonville Jaguars will play 2 home games in London during the next season, while the Washington Commanders will host the other London game.
Mm.
The Detroit Lions are going to be playing in Munich. I think
Mm.
that'll get a really good turnout. But it'll be interesting to see what teams do play, what teams are going to play. Obviously, going back to that, the Jags have a really good following over here. There's obviously a few
Mm.
academies and stuff. But I've said next season the Jags are my favourite to win it all. We're not we did like a thing where we couldn't pick our own team. If you had to pick a team that wasn't your team, because of course the Panthers are going to win it next season, is there a team that you'd pick?
I don't think the Patriots are too far off, you know. They were good this year. They had a few games where they weren't quite up to standard. And then I think because they fell off a cliff in the Super Bowl, but they are looking good. Drake May's a hell of a quarterback.
Yeah, I think that. I mean, they've got a lot of rookies on the O line as well, and I think they're only going to get better playing in that type of game environment. You know, we've been there. Like, for anyone who doesn't know, me and Joe play for the same team. We got beat in the final. I think me and you were a lot more gutted than other people, but we'll talk about that another time. But we learn from that, and it drives you, it pushes you. I want to ask you about Bangor. So, how did you get into that? You're a Welsh lad. Where are you from?
From down the road from Bangor, yeah, like 20 minutes down the road. So
What's it called?
I won't get into it. So I'm from a place called Abergele,
Okay,
but I live in a place called Llanfyfechan, which is even harder to say.
That is,
It's
yeah.
a million miles from anywhere where they play American football. I'll tell you that much.
And how's Bangor got on this year?
It's all right, mate. We're out of bucks at the minute. So the story being that there was a few of us at Chester a few years back, and Bangor were on their arse looking for coaches. So we took over the year that they were eventually ended up dropping out of bucks. I think we played Staff Stallions. Well, I definitely no. I'm not going to forget that game in a hurry. And we had like 18, 20 players just about went in there, got absolutely smashed, dropped out of bucks. And it's just been a matter of like rebuilding since then.
Yeah.
But just fell into it. It was like, look, I was going to take a year out with injury because I had a bit of an Achilles issue. And it was like, why don't you get into some coaching? And it was only down the road from me. But then what should have been a bit of assistant running back coaching ended up being part of like a trio that have tried to rebuild the club.
I love that. Just dead quickly, mate, because I haven't mentioned this. We don't swear. We've not swore yet, but we don't swear. In case there's any emotion there where you want to give us a swear word. So obviously with with adult ball, you can recruit from anywhere. I've been known to be a bit of a recruiter, as yourself. What's the struggles in terms of recruitment at uni ball? Or
it is hard. It is. I suppose it's difficult in a lot of places, but if you're going to be running a uni ball team anywhere that's near a Manchester, Midlands, down south, up in Scotland, generally you've got teams around you where people might have a bit of experience in the first place.
Yeah.
With us, there's nobody. Like, we're an hour and 10 minutes away from Chester, who are the nearest, and we've always had good links with the Romans. So it's always been a good sort of bit of a feeder, but it doesn't always go both ways, that you get a lot of youth lads coming from Chester that can then come and play from Bangor. So you're trying to draw people into the sport that have got often no background in it. and you're trying to introduce them to sport that maybe they've not even considered in the first place. It's great fun. I love it. I know the few of us that run it love what we do. We love that challenge of, look, half the squad probably couldn't tell you what a touchdown was when they first came to their first training. We had one lad turn up in a pair of Timberland boots and cargo trousers. It's just getting people like that are sort of game available and able to play the game's amazing, but it's not to say that it comes without its challenges.
Okay, so that's that aspect of it. Now you're at Lancashire Buccaneers now. What have you played for any other adult ball teams?
Yeah, prior to Buccaneers, it was always Romans. Being that they're the nearest club, they're still an hour from home. But it was like I say, coming back into footy when I was 17, 18, started to get an interest in it. It was like, right, so this is this weird sport that I've decided to throw myself head first into. Where can you play? And Romans really being like the only option, but they've been everything to me, really, that club. If they weren't around, then there'd have been no American football for me. I'm 34 now. I got into it about 10 years ago. But yeah, I had some great memories with them.
Yeah, I was contemplating just leaving the sport completely, and they Richard, he doesn't like me call Richard, does he? Ickle, yeah, he got me in, and I enjoyed that first playoff season. I think we went to Inverclyde, or we had to go play Inverness. Sorry, not Inverclyde, Inverness. So I had to get up at 1 o'clock in the morning to get there on time. And I remember looking at the footage we got, and we had them figured out before we'd even got there. And then obviously we got beat to the Vikings, and then the season after, unfortunately, we didn't make the playoffs. It was a bit of a transition because you had a lot of players leave and go to like the Titans and stuff like that. Which I get it. I completely get it if you know you're going to play. But I want to go back to some NFL stuff. So there's some news this week. Combine events. What do you think of combine events, mate?
I think it tells you a lot about it that a lot of the top prospects decline the offer to go to the combine these days. I think if you're a middling talent, I think if you're okay and you're looking to persuade someone one way or another and you can have a good combine performance, I think it helps. On the whole, I don't think you can gauge how good a player is going to be by how quickly they run a 3-cone drill. I mean, maybe it tells you something about them that you couldn't see on film. But if you're looking at these guys who've probably got hundreds of hours worth of film compiled on them from game time, running around slapping bags isn't going to make an awful lot of difference.
What? Let's say you're in the combine. Okay, what is the one event that you would do really good at?
That's an hard one, isn't it?
Mine, I think I'd be. I'm deceptively quick for a big guy, so I think I'd do well on that one.
Remember, I used to run a sort of 4.840 way back when, but if I managed to breach like a 5.3 now, I think I'd be doing well. Bench press would probably get 2 or 3 out on a good day.
I only have one shoulder. Okay. Where do you think Tyreek Hill's going to end up? Would you have my Panthers?
No, probably not. The amount it costs to take him on. We've got so many positions in need. It'd just be a luxury having someone like him at receiver. I don't think it improves our offense massively. I mean, he's a big piece, but is it the difference that turns us from like 0.5 team to a playoff contender, like playoff winning contender? I really don't think so.
He's also got that injury as well because he had a really,
yeah, he's still going to demand a high fee though, and he's going to be a lot of money somewhere, and it's a lot of risk you're taking on. I wonder if he goes back to someone like the Chiefs if they've got the cap space. Beyond that, it's whether someone, I don't know, who's got a massive amount of cap space coming up. It won't be the Saints because they always overspend.
Yeah, well, the Chiefs, they've lowered Mahomes' contract, and they're still above where they should be. So they've got to cut some money elsewhere. It is interesting, the salary cap. It is an interesting one. Now, going back to Britball, I've got to play the in-between guy. Obviously, I can't promote my team, but you're currently at Lancashire Buccaneers.
I am.
Lost the Gulag game. I'd say, and I think you might agree with me, they beat themselves with, rather than got beat after the game got pushed back to favour Sheffield. What are the book. What's the Bucks aiming to do this season? What's the realistic expectations? What's training being like? All that jazz.
I've missed quite a bit this season. Had a funny little injury to start off with, but I think the general mood in camp is just that we need to be a step up from where we were at last year, and it's just about those things to improve it. I know the coaching staff have really stepped things up on their side. There's a big push on like the level of accountability, the amount people study playbook, get into training. I think sometimes last year, and I'll throw myself in the camp, there's a lot of people that were quite laissez-faire with the way that they approach things. It was almost like a given that we've got this good cohort of players that's going to translate to on-field success. I think in the main it did. We come up against a really, really strong Leicester team who, bulldozed us a little bit. And then I think it was like had quite a good game against Humber away. And I don't know if the overconfidence ran away with it. I think Sheffield needs to be given plenty of credit. They turned out they were much better than they looked on tape. They were a solid football team. They looked like the Sheffield we played as Chester.
Yeah,
I years agree. Prior, they looked nothing like they did on film. Yeah. They turned out when they needed to, perform really well. And I think we just need to find that gear where we can do that consistently. Not where we have like a slow first half and then just wake up in the second, where we can come out the gate, score points on teams, get ourselves off there, and get in a bath and get a beer.
Yeah, FYI, we don't share a bath, especially with Hodor. Yeah, he's a funny guy, Hodor, isn't he? Like,
what a bloke, man.
Just for context, Hodor is named after Hodor from Game of Thrones. Freaky strong guy, funny guy, and he just has a filter and he'll just snap someone. My favourite thing he did last season was I think someone stood on his hand, and to make his hand better, he punched the ground dead hard, shouted as he did it, and then snapped the perfect ball. Cracking fun. I'm sure you've got some funny stories with Hodor and others.
Oh man, he's fantastic. He really is. See, it's people like him that are a baptism by fire when it comes into Britball. Like I say, I think I come off the back of like football, like European football, soccer, whatever you want to call it. Yeah. That'd been all I played through school and that, and then I'd gone into a bit of cycling. So I was about 10.5 stone going to play running back. I was tiny compared to a lot of players. And then we stood on that line behind people like Hodor and Chewy John Jones that used to play as well, who were like 6 foot something.
One more year, John Jones. One more year, John Jones.
Chewy. One more year. He's going to kill me.
I mean, yes, some of the old linemen I've seen, even some of the D linemen, like it's just and I remember Hodor accidentally breaking someone's arm. I think it was at Hot Spartans. He just destroyed. I think he broke his arm. He'd done something like that. And I just remember the whole of their D line being like, "We're not going anywhere near him. Stay away from him. Stay away from him." But absolute brilliant guy. Okay, going back to NFL. Where do you think the Panthers are going to finish next season? What do you think you guys can achieve? And to do what you think you're going to achieve, obviously you've not got a great draft pick, but you've not got a horrendous draft pick as well.
I don't think we're going to have a good season, to be honest with you. I know we've got quite a tough fixture list. I mean, we improved, but I feel like we ended the season on a bit of a false record, really. I think we got quite lucky in a few games. There's a few we lost sort of quite narrowly, but I don't feel like we're ever particularly in it. A lot of garbage time points coming quite often. I think, as much as I hate to say it, I think the Saints will be stronger. I think the Falcons have had a new coaching staff. I think they'll be much better. I think the Buccaneers won't have as many excuses. If we finish bottom of the division, it wouldn't surprise me.
They absolutely crumbled last year, the Buccaneers. They were people's top team. Like, when your power rankings.
Yeah.
I can't explain how they did, because they weren't just bad. They were poor.
Yeah. Yeah, they were terrible. They just dropped off a cliff. I know it's ironic that I'm sat here in a Buccaneers hoodie, but because it doesn't say Tampa Bay, I'm claiming it's Lancashire, not Tampa. But yeah, I think because they lost both their running backs for a while, and then Mike Evans got that injury mid-season. I think Baker can pull out so much, but he was the entire offense for long periods of the season.
What do you think of Bryce Young?
Depends what hour of the day you ask me. Changes every other. I think he's a great fella. He's the kind of person in football you want to see succeed. You want to see him do well. He's a good personality, good for the community, good for the club. Just an all-round nice lad. When he plays at his best, he looks like that franchise quarterback that we've been looking for. Do I think he's sort of going to be a Hall of Fame candidate at the end of his career? Probably not. But can he be a middling, decent quarterback for us for a few years? Probably. But he has so many errors in his locker where it's just bad fumbles or dodgy misplaced passes or just can't seem to string 2 or 3 things together at once. I genuinely can't make my mind up for him. Like, I'd love him to succeed.
You have Andy Dalton as well.
Oh, he's dreadful.
Because that the Bills game, it was poor. But my team, we only have one QB. We do have other QBs, but you're seeing against the Patriots, it wasn't great. Would you take a veteran QB? Like one who you knew was going to perform?
Depends who's out there, doesn't it? I don't think there's an awful lot of them. I think you've seen people like Pittsburgh have tried to do with Aaron Rodgers, and he's not been all that.
Would you take Rodgers?
No, not a chance.
Oh, you were quick on that one. What?
No.
Let me ask you this question: Would you take him as a backup QB to help with like Young's development?
No, because I don't think he's that kind of fella. I don't think he was that at Green Bay with Jordan Love when he was there. I think Rodgers needs to be the biggest voice in the room. I don't think he's the kind of fella that would take a backup contract anywhere.
Okay, it's interesting because I mean, look, let's look at Panthers season. Let's have a look. Let's just get this up. Not that Panthers. So, I mean, you lost the last 3 games on our postseason. Give us 1 minute, 2 seconds. Sorry, mate, 1 minute. Yeah, so you lost your last game against Tampa Bay, Seahawks. Then you beat Tampa Bay before that. You lost against the Saints, who were very inconsistent as well. You didn't at no point of the season, from what I'm looking here, you didn't look like you were making the playoffs, but you were pretty much in it until the very end, which is fair do. But you look at the loss to like the Saints. That's a game on paper you should have won. The Cardinals, is that a game you should have won? There was a few games for me where you were close. Or let me put it this way: there's a few games that on paper you should have won, and if you had done, you're then a playoff contention team. What in terms of coaching staff at Panthers, do you think anything needs to change on that, or?
I'm not a big fan of the DC. I think he's been with us about 4 seasons now, and every season that he's been running the defense, we've been like amongst the bottom teams, ranking for almost everything. Yeah. I've got a feeling Evero was at the Broncos before he was with us, and your pass rush rate was dreadful under him. I mean, We've consistently had the worst pass rush rate under him, like in the NFL for season after season now. And I think that's part of the problem, that we've got an average offense and a below average defense, and we can't generate pressure or pick up many turnovers. I mean, Mike Jackson's had the season of his life this year. JC Horn's not been amazing, but amongst them two for the secondary, we've managed to get some takeaways. But that linebacker and defensive line core has just been unbelievably poor. We've chopped and changed all the pieces, swapped out players, brought in new ones, had a bit of a change of look, and nothing seems to be affecting it. And it's hard to say that it's not the defensive system that we're playing, really.
Okay. Well, we're nearly finished, mate, so don't worry. You can go back to doing whatever you're doing. Before you go, I don't know if you've answered this before. I think I did ask you, but I don't think you answered it properly. What are the Bucs going to do next season? Where are they going to finish? What do you think? Because I had Lancashire Bombers on the other day, and they're adamant they're making it to the playoffs.
I mean, they're a good team. Not going to start any beef with Lincolnshire. They're a strong team. I think Humber are a good team. I think with all this Scunthorpe folding or not folding, and Humber, whatever's going on there. I mean, that's no disrespect, but I think they're going to be a strong team for Div 2 this season. Whether we can pick them, I'm not sure. I'd say probably between us and Humber. I don't know if Lincolnshire, how they're going to turn out, but like I say, they were a strong team last year. They were decent. We had 2 solid games against them.
I'll say this. I felt we had a harder game against the Bombers than we did against Humber. Because I think if it finished 28-5 against Humber, whereas the Bombers got a few more scores against us. Both great teams, both cracking people on both teams. Where I do worry about Humber and the Alpha situation is it's become very much a trend to re-sign this player. This player's joined us. Everyone's doing it. They've not been doing it. So that's interesting. That's where I'm looking at it. Maybe they're keeping the cards close to the chest, and that'd be great if they did that. But it is going to be an interesting season. So you reckon all the way promotion or?
I think I've got a backers, haven't I? I think we need to step up on the pitch. We seem to be on offense. Things seem to be really improving. The work that Paul's been doing to change the offensive side of things seems to be working really well. I like the looks. I like the changes he's making, the adaptations, the culture change, stuff like that. I think it's hard to look at other teams and know what they're going to do. All I know is I think we're going to come out with a better look than we did last year. So I've got a back as if we finished second last year to finish top this year. But that's going in not knowing what Humber are doing, what Lincoln are doing, knowing that we've got a lot of driving, knowing we've got some tough teams in this season. But I think if we can make the playoffs, we've got a chance of going all the way.
How can people join the Lancashire Buccaneers? How can they contact the Buccaneers?
Just drop the Instagram account to follow. I know we've got some good fellas that are running those accounts that are pretty active. They can put you in contact with DCs, OCs, head coaches, people that you want to speak to, find out what's going on, find out what you can contribute, what we've got to offer. I think it's a brilliant club. I think the culture there is brilliant. I think it's full of good people. It's just been it's been a breath of fresh air to be around, to be quite honest with you. I don't know if it's because it's a fairly new club. I know it's rebranded, but there just seems to be an energy about the place that's really enjoyable to be a part of.
Yeah, I try not to talk about it so much because I always have to play that middleman being here, but it really is a good club. I sold a car today to a gentleman who's joined another team, and I did say to him, mate, if you're up for it, give us a nudge if you're not enjoying it. So I would always say to anyone, if you're not happy at the current club that you're at, there are other alternatives, whether it be my club, our club, or a different club. But the last thing anyone wants anyone to do is just stop playing the sport. The sport doesn't grow. We've seen too many teams fold. Just before you go, mate, I put a poll up, a video up the other day. Player caps. Do you think we should have player caps in Buffer?
Do you mean like squad size numbers?
Yeah. So let's say the maximum players you can sign is 65. That's it. No 130 players, no 100 players. 65, that's it.
Yeah, I do, to be honest. I think if you can cap it, but you can set up a formal kind of like Resi's team or a secondary team and actually plan out what you're going to do with them, I think that makes sense. I think we had a big squad last year. There's people that don't always get like anywhere near the field, and I don't know how that goes for development. If people want to be there, I mean, of course, that's their choice. But I think if you're talking about developing the sport, I think you need to get more people playing in some format or another. I think if the answer to that is capping it at 65, 70, 75, I think it's probably a good way to go.
Perfect. Well, Joe, thank you very much for coming along, mate. I really do appreciate it. Do you want to say anything in Welsh before you go? For anyone who doesn't know, Joe is very fluent in Welsh. I'd like to respond back in Welsh, but I can barely speak English, never mind Welsh.
Yeah, I won't stitch you up with that one, but if anyone wants to throw Thewod Bangor, follow, please do. Or Cynan, that I coach with, runs a Welsh language NFL podcast. If anybody is looking to follow something like that, finally push the followers into the double digits finally. So it's helmed.pod. So drop him a follow as well. He'll be made up with that one.
We will share the link to that one, mate, on our socials. Folks, this is episode 26 of the Audible. Follow us on our socials: Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, X. We're on pretty much absolutely everything. Joe, thank you very much for coming along. Everyone, we will see you all next week. I've been Matteo.
And I've been Joe. Thanks for having me on, mate.
See you later, guys. Cheers.